Next, as we close out 2013, the Illinois Channel remembers some of our more memorable moments of political coverage. We take a look back at the issues and debates surrounding concealed carry, the expansion of Medicaid, the legalization of medical marijuana and gay marriage, and the long-awaited passing of pension reform. This runs about 40 minutes. Next from Chicago, Governor Pat Quinn explains why he felt the concealed carry bill passed by the legislature had insufficient safeguards to protect the public. He lays out the changes he made through his amendatory veto of the bill, which allows an Illinois governor to make changes to the bill.
It's an important day in Illinois. I'm the governor of our state, and I'm using my constitutional authority today to amend a bill that was passed by the General Assembly, House Bill 183. It deals with concealed carry. Explain that to the people of Illinois. It means that there would be an opportunity for citizens to have a loaded weapon concealed on their person in a public place. This particular bill was mandated by the Court of Appeals of the Seventh Circuit on December 11th of last year, 3 days before the horrific tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut at Sandy Hook School. Our state was told by a federal court that we must adopt a law dealing with concealed carry. I felt that ruling was wrong then. I still feel it's wrong. It's not been appealed. We therefore have to take action to protect the public safety of the people of Illinois. And that's what I'm doing today. The most important job of a governor is to protect the safety of the people. And I've examined this particular bill over the last several weeks very carefully. And there are serious flaws in this bill that jeopardize public safety of the people of Illinois. And therefore, I've used my power under the Constitution of our state to make important changes, common sense changes, to protect the safety of our people. I'm going to go through those specific changes because I think it's important to enumerate each and every one of those important changes that are needed in order to make sure that people of Illinois are safe. Number one, alcohol. This particular bill would allow someone to bring a gun into an establishment that has a liquor license and is serving alcohol. Guns and alcohol don't mix.
Right.
And I think it's very important that the legislature understand that message from the people of Illinois. And therefore, I took out of the bill any authority for an establishment that serves alcohol to allow guns in on its premises. Number two, in 1970, the people of Illinois in a referendum passed home rule. It was a constitutional amendment, a constitutional provision of our Illinois Constitution. It was hard fought. The people voted for it. And home rule is a very important part of life in Illinois. It allows local communities to adopt laws and ordinances that benefit their community. And that principle ought to be upheld. Unfortunately, this bill strips from home rule communities all across Illinois their authority to enact future laws on assault weapons, and I think that's the wrong way to go. This provision was inspired by the National Rifle Association. It has nothing to do with concealed carry. It's part of their agenda, no doubt about it. But we don't need the NRA telling us how to keep people safe in the state of Illinois and our local communities. Under this provision of this law, guns are allowed to be brought into stores, to restaurants, to churches, to children's entertainment venues, to movie theaters, and other private properties. I think it's very important that the owners of private property, owners of private property, be allowed to ban guns from their premises without having to post signs saying no guns allowed. The presumption ought to be that no guns are allowed in these places. And if an owner wants to have guns, then they should have to have a sign that says guns are welcome here. It shouldn't be a burden on private property owners to put a sign otherwise.
Next, from the state capitol, members of the House vote to override Governor Quinn's changes to a concealed carry bill the legislature passed in May. House members did not debate the issue again, but following the vote, we speak to the House sponsor of the bill, Representative Brandon Phelps.
Mr. Phelps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I would like to make a motion to override the governor's amendatory veto changes to House Bill 183, Mr. Speaker.
Opposed, no. The voting is open. Mr. Clerk, please take the record on this question. There are 77 voting yes, 31 voting no. This motion, having received the required 3/5 majority, prevails, and House Bill 183 is declared passed, notwithstanding the governor's recommendations for change.
Representative Brandon Phelps, we just heard the limited debate, actually no debate, I guess, really, but a kind of historic vote for the House to override the governor's amendatory veto of concealed carry. You were the bill sponsor. So what is your reaction just coming off the floor as the vote happened?
Well, I'm very happy. I mean, we made history today in the House. We're 36 votes away to making real history in the state of Illinois. Terry, you know this. You've been here a long time. I never thought you and I would be talking about concealed carry coming to Illinois in my lifetime. And here we are, 36 votes away. I'm very happy. We lost a few people today, but I thought we had the vote, so all we needed was 71. We got 77, so I'm very happy.
As you know, the governor, in his statement on the amendatory veto at a press conference, and he was saying that this was a bill that was rushed through, that it was as if it was written by the NRA. What are your reaction?
That's just political grandstanding. He knows better, and you know, shame on him, because they were involved in the negotiations. They gave us a list of 6 or 7 things that they wanted, and they got most of them. The last provision that they wanted was lost and stolen, and Senator Raul passed that the day of concealed carry, if you remember. They knew every step of the way what was going on. For him to say this was rushed through, it's absolutely not true, and it's a slap in the face to all my colleagues in the Senate and in the House. We had about 2 years of big discussions. You saw what we did in the House, 80 some odd amendments. I mean, we voted on a lot of this stuff. But for him to say that this was rushed, he knows he's wrong.
Well, and I remember us standing right here doing this interview after you passed it originally, and you were saying there was things that you didn't like in the bill that you had to accommodate the other side to get the votes you needed. I think the degree of the cost of the permit, I think, was one of the things that you had given. What were some of the others, just to remind people, some of the other compromises that you had to make in the bill that passed the House that was not in the original version?
Well, if you remember the hours of training, at one time they wanted 40 hours of training. We thought that was ridiculous, so we brought it down to 16. They wanted $500 to $100 to $1,000 on the permit fee, license fee. We got it down to $150 for 5 years, so $30 a year for 5 years is not bad to be able to protect yourself and your family. Just different things like that. So, you know, it was a compromise. Not both sides didn't like everything in the bill, but that's what makes a good compromise bill. And we had to start somewhere because, like I said, I never thought you and I would be talking about how close we are getting concealed carry in Illinois, which we're the last state to do.
And when you say 36, you're referring to the Senate as yet to vote for an override. Yeah. What happens if they fail to override?
Well, we go off the cliff. By stroke of midnight today, there'll be all kinds of lawsuits. Different home rule municipalities will do different things. Different counties will do different things. I just think that'd be all chaos. I don't know why the governor would want to put people in Illinois in that predicament. But, you know, shame on him on this. He should have signed the bill, Terry. He should have signed the compromise bill, because now he looks weak, he looks irrelevant, and it was just a slap in the face to the legislature. And I think it's absolutely wrong.
Okay, thank you. Further, our last speaker seeking recognition is Leader Radonio. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, a question for the sponsor.
Indicates he will yield for a question. Leader Radonio.
Senator, on the signage portion of the bill, which seems to be causing the most consternation to people here, is there anything in this bill that would prohibit somebody from posting a sign in a prohibited place?
President Cullerton.
No, not at all, and it's a good point. If they want to put a sign up, if there's some uncertainty, they could certainly do so.
Leader Radonio.
It seems to me another way to look at this issue is that we are allowing for local control. So if a local school board decides they want to remind people that it is prohibited, they can be free to place that sign. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. In order to save me from rising too many times, I just want to comment on this amendment as well as then the bill. I support this amendment. I think this is not the last time we're going to be discussing this issue by any means. Obviously, here we are at the 99th hour, adding things to the bill that I expect will be widely supported. I intend to vote for this amendment. I intend to vote for the override as well, and I think that that speaks volumes about the good work that this legislature has done. It was a very, very difficult issue. People genuinely disagree on how this should be handled. I think the bill passed respects the Second Amendment rights, but it also has very reasonable restrictions in it. We're adding some more right now, tweaking it, and we will continue to do that. So for those people that are still uncomfortable with it, we'll continue to have discussions, but I hope everyone will support not only this amendment, but the override of the bill as well, so that we have something reasonable and constitutional in place come tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. President Cullerton to close.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate the support of Senator Radogno. Again, we know this is a somewhat controversial issue, and we were able to, in a very short period of time, come up with a consensus, I hope, on these three items. We're certainly open to any other improvements to the bill as we see how it plays out, if it does become the law. But if it becomes law, it's going to be immediate, and as a result, I wanted to see if we can make these corrections today with a supermajority requirement, and hope that we can continue to have dialogue should the bill become the law. So I would ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. As the President just indicated, as the bill has an immediate effective date, it does require 36 votes. Ladies and gentlemen, the question is, shall House Bill 1453 pass? All those in favor will vote aye. Opposed, nay. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Mr. Secretary, take the record. On that question, there are 45 voting aye, 13 voting nay, 0 voting present. House Bill 1453, having received the required constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Next from Chicago, Governor Quinn is joined by several lawmakers as the governor signs a bill into law that will expand the Medicaid rolls in Illinois. This expansion of Medicaid, the healthcare program for low-income earners, is part of the implementation of President Obama's healthcare program. Some critics of this expansion say the state cannot afford to spend more on Medicaid, but Governor Quinn notes that the state will get funds from the federal government to pay for much of the rising costs. This runs about 15 minutes.
Thank you. You know, what a special day this is. I made a speech earlier this year, the State of the State, and I said one of our top priorities in the state of Illinois this year was to get this law passed. And I'm very, very grateful to the members of the General Assembly who voted yes for expanding Medicaid. This is essentially implementing the Affordable Care Act. Some call it Obamacare. I call it I Do Care. And this is the way that we, the people of Illinois, are going to get more health insurance coverage for at least 342,000 of our neighbors. I think that's really an important objective that all of us have, decent health care for everybody. And our president made that very clear right after he was sworn in back in 2009. He said it's important that we in this country work together to extend health coverage to people who don't have it. That's an important fundamental right that everyone has. It's not a privilege to have decent health care. It's a fundamental right. And 12 years ago, about this time, I was on the Mississippi River at a bridge called the Centennial Bridge in Rock Island, right above the river, big river, and I was with my doctor, Quentin Young. And we walked across Illinois from the Mississippi River all the way to Lake Michigan in Chicago. We walked right by this very building on behalf of decent health care for everyone. And I've always believed that. You know, it's important not only to have a belief and concern and a vision, but you have to actually accomplish it. You have to have a record of getting it done. And I want to commend all the people who worked on this historic mission, not only members of the General Assembly, but all the organizations, all the individuals who banded together, who understand that we in America, we can do better when it comes to health care coverage for people who need it. And today in Illinois, the home state of President Obama, who will be here in our state this week. On Wednesday, he's going to Galesburg. And I was very, very concerned that we get this bill signed into law today before the president gets here so we can tell him we got the job done. I think it's also important to realize that the signing of this bill creates jobs in Illinois. I had a lady come when I was walking in. She said, we need more jobs in Illinois. I totally agree with her. I work on that every single day. All of us have to work on that. And we know that health care is a very, very important sector of our economy. And we're going to be getting $12 billion in the next few years from the federal government to our state to implement this important health care reform. And that is going to put people to work. We want folks not only to get health insurance coverage, but we also want the other principles of the Affordable Care Act. You can't deny people because of pre-existing conditions. You got to make sure that people get a fair shake when it comes to their health insurance. And so I want to make sure that the folks who made this day possible in the legislature, when I spoke before the legislature in the State of the State address, I said that we have to team up together. Members of the legislature I talked to and my members of my staff talked to about how important this is to our economy in Illinois, to our health care safety net. We want to make sure that no one falls through. We want to have a wellness society in Illinois. We don't just want to treat people when they're sick. The passage of this law that I'm going to sign today also makes sure that we have preventive medicine. And we're going to work with great hospitals like we have here in this very institution, as well as around here. There's 3 other major hospitals, Stroger Public Hospital, as well as Rush, and also Jesse Brown Veterans Hospital. But we have so many other hospitals in Illinois, and I want to thank the Illinois Hospital Association for their fervent support.
Next from Chicago, Governor Pat Quinn signs into law a bill that legalizes the use of marijuana for 35 different medical conditions. The legalization of medical marijuana is a pilot program that will have to be renewed in 4 years. Illinois is now the 21st state to legalize the use of marijuana for medical purposes.
So we are here this morning to announce a program that will bring comfort and therapies to some of our sickest patients that we treat. And with that as an introduction, it is my honor to bring to the podium Governor of our state of Illinois, Pat Quinn.
Thank you. Thank you. This is really an important day, I think, for healing in Illinois, for helping people who are dealing with pain every day, oftentimes very severe pain, pain from diseases that are very, very challenging to any human being, and it's important that we do whatever we can to help ease their pain. And I want to thank the University of Chicago and their medical center. I was here at their grand opening, and it's such a special place. It's committed to helping heal those who are sick and helping those who are dealing with pain and oftentimes, sometimes terminal illness, get through that in the proper way, in a positive way. And I wanted to come here today to sign this very important bill. Last week I signed the bill for the Affordable Care Act in Illinois so that more people will have health coverage. And I had the honor of presenting that signed bill last Wednesday to our president, President Barack Obama, from the state of Illinois. And he was so proud that his home state passed a bill dealing with helping folks keep good health care, get good health care, get healing. And I think it's important, next week we'll be talking about investments in our safety net hospitals as well as our hospitals downstate that are critical access hospitals. We believe in Illinois in a continuum of care. But some months ago, I visited in my office in Springfield with a veteran that you'll hear from today about the importance of this particular bill today, medical marijuana that will heal and help many, many people deal with pain. Pain from very severe illnesses, whether it's multiple sclerosis or HIV or cancer or muscular dystrophy or a variety of other very serious illnesses that affect literally thousands of people in Illinois. This is a very well-drafted bill, and I want to commend the sponsor of this bill, who's going to be speaking very shortly, who worked in the best traditions of democracy in working with his colleagues in the House and the Senate and the people all across Illinois to bring advocates to Springfield, to answer questions, to hold committee hearings, to answer more questions. He never, ever gave up on this bill. He deserves a lot of credit. I really want to thank Representative Lou Lang.
Why I took this on in the first place. The people behind me are the reason I took this on in the first place. And the people here in the front row are the reason I took this on. We have a responsibility as a state and as a legislature and as a government to simply take care of people when they need help. Without this bill, many of the people you see standing here and thousands of others around the state were relying on things like OxyContin and Vicodin and morphine and codeine to deal with the symptoms of very painful diseases and illnesses and conditions, or the nausea from chemotherapy and other types of things. And those particular medications, they will all tell you, put them flat on their back, made them useless. They couldn't take care of their families. They couldn't work. They couldn't do the laundry. They couldn't go to the movies. In short, those medications which were designed to help them feel better actually ruined their lives. Actually ruined their lives. I see hospital staff in the back that I know deal with patients every day, and I know they know what I'm talking about. And so I took this on first as a challenge because I like taking on tough bills, people will tell you. But I took it on because I met with patients, and I met with people who said, please pass this bill, Representative. Oh, we'll get our cannabis anyway. We'll get it in a back alley in some godforsaken town. We'll get it from someone who might hit us over the head after we buy it, and they'll have the marijuana and the money. We'll find it. But are we really going to be a state where we're going to allow a 75-year-old granny with colon cancer to have to search for a remedy for her pain and her nausea? I don't think that's the kind of state we want to be. We made this the most controlled and highly regulated bill in the country ever written, which is why I'm now getting calls from legislators from states that do not have a law like this, asking for copies, asking how we did it. Because they want what we all want and what you all want, a better quality of life for the citizens living in the state of Illinois, and that quality of life should not be limited to people who are well. We have a responsibility to take care of those among us who need our help with a product that will help them improve their lives. We spent a lot of time in this state, and certainly we know the federal government spent a long time talking about health care for America, and in this state, health care for Illinoisans. And all those things we're talking about cost billions and billions and billions of dollars. This bill that the governor is going to sign today will cost the taxpayers $0 and provide health care for thousands of Illinois citizens who desperately need to improve their lives. Let me thank legislators who finally crossed the goal line and finally decided that more concerning to them than the politics of marijuana was the public policy of simply helping sick people feel better.
Next, from the House chamber in the state capitol, we hear a portion of the historic and emotional debate around the effort to legalize gay marriage in Illinois. Members knew the vote on this bill would be close. It was so close that Representative Naomi Jacobson from Urbana left the bedside of her dying son to be on hand for this vote. The bill did pass, with one vote to spare.
Speaker Madigan, Representative Lang in the chair.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. First, to Greg Harris, thank you for the long, hard work that you put into this bill, and my regrets for the unwarranted criticism that was heaped upon you by certain, quote, supporters of the bill. It was not warranted, it was not needed, it did not help the passage of the bill, probably hurt the passage of the bill. My thoughts regarding this legislation were formulated before the quote that I'm going to offer to all of us. And the quote that I offer is a quote from Pope Francis of the Roman Catholic Church, who is quoted as saying, "If someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and he has goodwill, who am I to judge?" Vatican experts were quick to point out that Pope Francis was not suggesting that the priest or anyone else should act on their homosexual tendencies. But Pope Francis has spoken, and he has articulated the basics of my thinking on this issue. The history of civilization is a history of people finding each other. Two people find each other. They get to know each other. They come to a judgment that they love each other, they want to be with each other, that each will help the other move through life, and then hopefully each will help the other in the raising of children. That's the simple history of civilization. And people have found each other over all of these centuries. People that are straight and people that are gay. Those that are gay living in these relationships under the law are illegal. And so that brings me to my personal thought. For those that just happen to be gay, living in a very harmonious, productive relationship, but illegal, who am I to judge that they should be illegal? Who is the government to judge that they should be illegal? And for me, that's the reason to support this bill. This is a bill that's long in coming. It ought to be passed today and shortly become the law of Illinois. I plan to vote yes. Thank you.
Mr. Harris to close.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the House, for what I think has been a very heartfelt, a very thorough, and a very informative debate. The one thing we know is that there are strong feelings on both sides of this issue, and we need to be respectful of everyone who has expressed an opinion today, whether they stood in support of the bill or whether they stood against the bill. But at the end of the day, what this bill is about is love, it is about family, it is about commitment. At the end of the day, this bill is about the vision that the founders of our country had and wrote into our Constitution, where they said, America is not a destination, America is a journey. America is a journey. And we'll continue to walk down that road and make America a better place, to make ourselves a more perfect union, to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. And ladies and gentlemen, there's not a lot more I can say to add to what has already been said, but I just brought with me today, and I promised this serviceman that I would say this on the floor. And so I have a flag here that has been flown in combat in Afghanistan as part of Operation Enduring Freedom from a soldier, an Illinois boy, who is stationed in Kandahar province, who is over there today defending our freedom. And he just asks that when he comes home from defending and fighting for freedom, that we have voted to give him the freedom to marry the person he loves. Ladies and gentlemen, please vote yes.
The sponsor moves that Senate Bill 10 pass. The members will be in their chairs. Those in favor of the bill will vote yes. Opposed, no. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Please take the record. On this question, there are 61 voting yes, 54 voting no, 2 voting present, and this bill, having received a constitutional majority, is hereby declared passed.
Next from Chicago, Governor Pat Quinn signs the Marriage Equality Act into law, which allows for gay marriage in Illinois. We hear from Governor Quinn and from several legislators who supported the new law. This runs about 15 minutes.
Well, I think the hour is near, and we've heard from Representative Greg Harris. He mentioned about Abraham Lincoln, and Jim and Patrick just mentioned Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery. And we are the land of Lincoln, and we understand how important Abraham Lincoln's legacy and words are to us at all times. And it's, I think, most meaningful that yesterday was the 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address, delivered by Abraham Lincoln in 272 words. And it really spoke not only in 1863, but for all time, for all of us who live in America. And the very beginning of the Gettysburg Address, President Abraham Lincoln of Illinois said that our nation was conceived in liberty. And he said it's dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And that's really what we're celebrating today. It's a triumph of democracy, a triumph of government of the people, that we believe in liberty and equality, and we're making sure that's part of our law. I think it's very, very meaningful that the desk that I'm going to be signing my name to, and I will have a lot of pens to sign with, and I want to make sure that we mark this day. This desk was used by Abraham Lincoln to write one of his inaugural addresses. And I think that we understand in our state that part of our unfinished business is to help other states in the United States of America achieve marriage equality. We want to have a new birth of freedom across America so that all 50 states of our nation have marriage equality, and love is not relegated to a second-class citizen status for any citizen in our country. And I think it's important, as we approach the moment of signing the bill into law, that we remember the words of a man named Paul, who said centuries ago that love is patient, love is kind, love bears all things, love believes all things, love hopes all things, love endures all things, love never fails. And I'm going to sign this bill right now.
Heather and Sean.
Next, from the House chamber in the state capitol, we hear the debate on SB 1, the pension reform bill that proposed changes in future benefits.
In my opinion, and I believe many of you agree, the state of Illinois is in a fiscal crisis, and we need to take immediate action. I applaud that our members have searched for options and proposed ideas that could help minimize this crisis. Over the past few years, we have increased the income tax. We created a Tier 2 retirement system that provides less generous benefits, and we have made very painful, deep cuts to programs that are essential to the health, safety, welfare, and educational development of the people of the state of Illinois. But it hasn't been enough. Raising taxes alone, cutting state spending alone, or a combination of the two alone won't solve the problem. Continuing to do nothing will further erode the state's credit rating and our ability to attract and maintain businesses and people that generate revenue for the state. This amendatory act of the 98th General Assembly is intended to address the fiscal issues of the state and its retirement systems in a manner that is realistically feasible, consistent with the Illinois Constitution, and fair to both the taxpayers and the employees impacted by these changes. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, first, I want to thank and highly compliment people on our side of the aisle. First, Representative Nekritz, the chair of our pension committee, the person who has been the engine behind all of this effort to reform the pension system, giving to the effort tireless time and effort and energy and dedication, and she has done a wonderful, wonderful job. In addition, my other two appointments to the conference committee, that gentleman standing up at the podium there, Mr. Turner, and Mr. Zaleski over here to the left. I want to compliment and thank our attorney, Heather, her assistant, Larry Dirks, and all of the other staff that were involved in this project among the Democrats. I want to thank and compliment Representative Durkin. He did an excellent job in the negotiations. He's done an excellent job of working with his members to persuade them to vote for the bill. I want to compliment Representative Singer and Representative Tracy and their staffer, Andrew Freiheit. Mr. Speaker, I think we've debated long enough. I think it's time that we all vote aye. Thank you.
The question is, shall the House adopt the first conference committee report on Senate Bill 1? Those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed by voting nay. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? The clerk shall take the record. On a count of 62 voting yes, 53 voting no, and 1 voting present, the House does adopt the first conference committee report on Senate Bill 1, and this bill, having received a constitutional majority, is hereby declared passed.
I want to commend the members of the General Assembly for passing historic legislation today. The Speaker of the House and the Minority Leader of the House, Mike Madigan and Jim Durkin, working together. It was very inspiring indeed when the House voted in favor of pension reform, and the same in the Senate. I want to salute President John Cullerton and Leader Christine Radogno for their efforts in working together. This is a bipartisan victory for the people of Illinois, and I think it's important that we mark this date in the history of Illinois. It is the day, our birthday, of the state of Illinois, that we use the process of democracy in a way that helps the people. And everyday people, I think, will benefit from this reform. The bill, when it arrives on my desk, I plan to sign it promptly. And I think it's an important event that will move our state forward. We have many things to do, but we had to do this. When I took the oath of office on the 29th of January of 2009, we inherited a lot of challenges and problems. And the number one challenge was to address the pension reform legislation. We passed pension reform for future employees in 2010, and I signed that into law, and I look forward to signing this pension reform. I respect the retirement security of all of our public servants, and I think it's important that we understand that the action of the General Assembly today, in a bipartisan way, will make our state stronger and will make the people stronger. And that should be our focus at all times, to make sure that we advance the interests of the common good of everyday people. Almost 13 million folks live in our state, and today was a good day for their future, and especially for our children's future.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.